Darwin's prediction is that no structure can arise de novo. Every structure must arrive from a previously existing structure. So we should anticipate finding this similarity, this homology among genes, and this is exactly the pattern we find. To be honest with you, we didn't think at the advent of molecular genetics, or we didn't think of that advent as the grand test of evolution. I think we all just knew that the expected patterns of homology would be there, and they were. If anything, if this is possible, they are even clearer than anyone imagined. The extent of homology among genes controlling animal development, that is your passage from an egg through an embryo to an adult, and that of a mouse from its larval or egg stage through its embryonic stages to an adult, and that of a fruit fly, the homology among the genes that control those processes is really quite astonishing. The genes are not identical by any means. Evolution theory would predict that they were different, but they would also predict that we ought to find the pattern of relatedness in the form of a phylogeny. In fact, genes themselves have evolutionary history, so that we now reconstruct not only the history of relatedness among species, but also among genes within what are called gene families. The globin gene family, each and every one of us has a large array of genes that code for our globins, which are important proteins in blood and in oxygen transport. The globin gene family is perhaps the best known example, but it is only one of a myriad of examples. And in fact, it is difficult to find a gene that doesn't belong to a gene family. If Kent wants to convert me from an evolutionist, all he needs to do is to show me a consistent pattern where genes within the genome appear to have arisen de novo. That is, are not related to other genes, or where genes compared among species are not similarly related. Kent was kind enough to send me a videotape of one of his previous debates. Frankly, it wasn't nearly as slick as the presentation that he gave today, and I'm kind of wondering if I haven't been set up here. But in viewing the tape, it's easy to see why he's a formidable advocate of the creationist position. He is articulate, he knows his position well, and he is really quick on his feet. He is especially quick at rattling off facts that call into question almost all of the evidence normally put forth by evolutionists. However, I put the word fact in quotes because at least some, and I suspect most of these factoids, are not facts at all, but rather misconstructions and misunderstandings of the scientific literature, and in at least some cases, apparent fabrications. A problem I have, and I think all scientists have in dealing with this aspect of creationist debates, is that I read a very small fraction of the huge volume of literature published in biology, even in my own area. And so when I heard Kent say in the debate video he sent me with great assurance that a paper was published in the January 1970 issue of Science reporting that a moon rock was divided into 9 pieces sent to 9 laboratories for radiometric dating and returned with 9 disparate dates ranging from 0.5 to 18 billion years, I faulted myself for being unaware of that important result, because it seemingly would call into question radiometric dating. However, when we investigated the report, and I want to acknowledge the considerable help of a small group of very competent students who helped me pursue some of these reports this summer. When we pursued this report, we found that it is not actually, or not exactly, and I want to choose my words carefully, the correct reconstruction of the report. The report is actually a set of 9 reports published in tandem in a special issue devoted to the first reports of the moon rock analyses in 1970. Each report emanates from a distinct lab, and so this part of Kent's account is correct. However, we could not find a single rock that had gone to all 9 laboratories. The closest was a rock, specimen number 10017, which was partitioned among 6 laboratories and in some was dated 13 times. The dates on this specimen reported in this particular issue do range from 2.5 to 4.6 billion years. But the 2.5 billion year date is an outlier resulting from a well-known phenomenon in potassium-argon dating resulting from Okay. I have 1 minute remaining, I'm told. Let me jump to the bottom line of that. The real range of dates on the specimen goes from 3.56 to 4.38 billion years, and the bogus dates are attributable to a well-known phenomenon of argon loss. Let me, with the few seconds I have left, mention the example that really raised red flags, and indeed I took a certain amount of umbrage at this. And I quote Kent from this debate where he says, and I quote, 2 to 3 years ago, when they found the dinosaur bones in Antarctica, they were not even fossilized. They were fresh, preserved, frozen dinosaur bones still containing carbon. They didn't carbon date them because it would have come back with a date less than 50,000 years. This raised alarm flags in me because it is so close to my area that I felt that I would have known about this if it were a fact. I did a quick literature search using the wonderful computerized literature search systems we had, could find no such reference. I called a paleontologist, Bill Hammer, who discovered the only dinosaur bones to be discovered in the Antarctic. I read the quote to him. He said, he knew of no such specimens. Hammer's 1991 specimen remains the only dinosaur bone from Antarctic proper, and it was completely mineralized. So I simply caution you, these facts that come out, don't take them at face value. For that matter, don't take what I say at face value. Open up your minds, go to the library. If something sounds odd, investigate it yourself. And with that, I'll cease and desist for the moment.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Moore. I've got quite a list of things. We won't get through it in time, I don't believe. I'll hurry here. You said the presentation was dazzling. I appreciate that. This is all, by the way, not taxpayer funded. You say I take a most extreme position, believing the Bible is literally true. I plead guilty as charged. You said the presentation was slick. That, at least by most people, I think would be taken as kind of a backhanded slap. Quick rattling off of facts that are misconstrued, I would interpret that to be a lie. I would be glad to defend, anything I've said. Take one topic at a time. Professional debater, make my living at it. I paid